Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I know it's been a little bit over a month since I posted a video, so I'm a little late with this one, but we are still going with the Brokenhearted series. And so I've had a lot of projects going on, and so I think I'm going to make another video later about an update with that. But right now I definitely want to keep this series going because it is some very important information that I think will help and bless a lot of people. So we're going to keep it going. First of all, if you are new to my channel, welcome. We are in this series again, healing from your brokenhearted, or navigating through your brokenhearted season. And so if you have not seen the previous videos, I think this is episode 5. So we have had a welcome video, and we've had 3 tips so far. So today we're going to be going on to tip number 4. So make sure, if you have not watched the other videos, to go back, because each video builds off of the previous ones. So make sure you go back, check those out. It's some really good information before you watch this one. And if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, go ahead, hit the subscribe button so that you'll get notifications every time a video is posted, and that way you won't miss a thing. So without delay, we're gonna go ahead on into tip number 4, okay? So last time we talked about more breaking coming, right? We talked about preparing ourselves for more breaking, and that was not a fun topic to speak on, because nobody wants to hear, and I'm sure it wasn't fun to hear either, because nobody really wants to hear that. But yet it is a natural part of the healing process, just navigating your way through. But we talked about that, and so now we're going to go on to the next tip, which is embracing your emotions, right? So this tip is really important. You have to give yourself permission really to feel your emotions, because I feel like a lot of people, when they're going through something, they just naturally want to suppress their emotions. I think people think suppressing your emotions will make you feel better, like you just don't feel them. But you may not feel them in the moment, and it may work for you momentarily, but in the long run it's very unhealthy, because at some point those emotions are going to rise up, and when they do, if you've been suppressing them for so long, it could have an adverse effect. So it's better to deal with them now, while you are going through this process. Like, you would hate to suppress your emotions, and then all of a sudden you think you're great, better, and healed, and you never really dealt with them, and then they just come and spring up out of nowhere, and you're like, wait a minute, I thought I was over that. But you have to realize that you actually have to deal with your emotions in order to heal. You have to deal to heal. So that's important. You have to be able to identify what your emotions are. So in embracing your emotions, you have to identify what they are. Is it anger? Is it sadness? Is it depression? Is it frustration? Is it, like, what is it? Because you can't deal with something unless you know what you're dealing with. So you have to be able to identify what your emotions are, and you can't identify them if you're suppressing them. So you have to let them rise up. You have to feel them and identify them, put a name to them, so that you know what it is that you're working with, that you're battling with. It's hard to fight an enemy with no face and no name. So it's a very important step. And people may tell you things like, people may encourage you to suppress your emotions. They may say, oh, he's not worth it, don't cry over him, or don't give him the satisfaction of being upset, or anything like that. So people may, and I think they mean well when they tell you these things, right? I definitely had people, to tell me stuff like that. And they meant well. It was people who cared about me. But at the same time, you have to let them know that, hey, I mean, even if you want to let them know, if it's somebody who you're not close to, or whatever the case is, don't even worry about, you just let it go in one ear and out the other, to be honest with you. But if it's somebody that you are close to, that you talk to often, like maybe your parent or a best friend or something like that, they're meaning well when they tell you this, but you might just have to let them know, look, I need to cry because I'm dealing with my emotions right now. I don't want to suppress them. I'm trying to work my way through this heartbreak. And so my tears are not for him. My tears are for me. They're for my healing. I'm on my own journey of healing, you know. And so sometimes if you just kind of express that to a person, you typically only need to do it once because they'll get the picture that, okay, I see she's not you know, just wallowing in her emotions and, you know, depressed or whatever. They'll see that you're actively working on this so that you can get over the breakup and move on with your life. So, yeah, so don't, you know, go ahead, take the time to process your emotions, regardless of what others have to say, and don't feel guilty about it. You know, sometimes people will make you feel guilty for when they say things like that. But if you know that you have a greater goal in mind of trying to really, you know, move past this season of your life to get to a better season, then, you know, don't feel bad or guilty that you're crying over this breakup, because you are essentially, you know, you're grieving that breakup. It was a relationship. You're not grieving the breakup, but you're grieving the relationship. It was a relationship that obviously meant something to you, because if it didn't mean anything to you, you wouldn't be sad. It wouldn't hurt. But obviously it meant something to you. And so it's like, you know, just like when you lose somebody that's close to you, you essentially did, you know, you may have considered that person to be your best friend, or you thought they were the love of your life, or whatever the case is. And so you're grieving the loss of that relationship. And so in grief, a natural thing to do is to cry. In grief, a natural thing to do is to question why. You know, a natural thing to do is to be upset or to be frustrated, you know, and it's natural to deal with your emotions if you're grieving a person. So why, you know, say like the death of a person, but why not be able to grieve a relationship? So you can deal, you give yourself permission to grieve and not to feel guilty about it, or not to think, don't even give yourself thoughts. Don't think about yourself as less than because you are expressing these emotions, or that you're even having them. You know, just make sure that, you know, the last thing you need is to think that you're not supposed to do this, because it's a natural thing. And I want to reassure you of that. It's a natural thing, because people think that it's unnatural to feel the emotion, and that it's natural to suppress them, and that's just backwards. It's not healthy to keep those emotions bottled up inside of you, because like a Coke bottle, you keep on shaking it and suppressing it, when you open it, it's going to explode, and you don't want that. Okay, so so let's see, where are we? All right, so now I want to talk about, you know, okay, listen to this point clearly. So we're talking about embracing your emotions and really feeling them, okay? There's a difference between feeling and embracing your emotions and I guess being led by your emotions. Okay, so let's talk about that difference. When you embrace your emotions, you know, you're feeling them. Okay, so you may cry, you may scream, not necessarily at anyone. You might punch a pillow if you're frustrated, you know, you don't want to hit anyone, but you know, you can express these emotions in different ways. Okay, but healthy ways. You know, you may pick up exercising because, you know what, that's how I'm channeling my emotions. Or for me, I journaled, you know, I wrote a lot. So you know, whatever way you choose, but I did cry a lot. So let me say that too. Like, journaling came later, and it's a process. But in the beginning, when I first started to feel my emotions and really express them, it was a lot of crying, a lot of screaming, you know, just hitting the floor, like just it was raw, you know, those emotions were raw. And so that's how I expressed them in the beginning. But when I started to just kind of move through this season, I got to the point where, yeah, I was still sad, I was still frustrated, but then I got to the point where I was able to channel them in different ways. I worked out more. What did I say? Oh, journal, you know, things like that. So feeling your emotions and expressing them in a healthy way is good, okay? But being led by your emotions is something different that you don't want to fall into the trap of. Being led by your emotions means that you are acting in out of your emotions. You're doing things because you feel this way. And when I say led by them, because these emotions tend to be negative emotions, then you do negative things. So then you find yourself, if you're led by your emotions, you find yourself sending a mean text message to your ex, or calling him to give him a piece of your mind, or gossiping about him and spreading his business that he trusted you to keep, or lying on him, or whatever the case is. And those are the things that you don't want to do, because in the end, that really doesn't make you feel any better to have done those things. It actually could make you feel worse. If you're, a good person, you probably will feel worse after the fact. So, and I will say that, I'm guilty of sending like a mean text message during my raw emotion days. I did send a couple of mean text messages. But other than that, and I felt guilty about it. So that's how I know, I can tell you, because I did it. But whatever, things that it could cause, and it could lead to bigger things like driving by his house or popping up at his house, like just those things are not healthy ways to express emotions. That's how your emotions lead you, and you should never be led by your emotions. So make sure you know the difference. I'm not telling you to do those type of things. I'm telling you to find healthy ways to feel your emotions and for you to be safe. You don't want to do anything that's going to hurt someone else, or their feelings, or hurt you, or be disrespectful to them, or disrespectful to yourself by doing something that's out of your character. So know the difference between feeling your emotions, embracing your emotions, and being led by your emotions. Okay, so we don't want to be led. That's my main point about that. So feel, not led. Okay. So we kind of talked about, we kind of talked about the grieving the relationship. And so I just kind of wanted to talk about my, my experience with this season, mini season, that, October through December was kind of like a tough month for me. Like, I feel like October through December, I did a lot of different things. And this was the time where I had to really learn to embrace my emotions, kind of like I didn't have a choice. There were tough months, and that's, when I learned how to journal. I would say that I did journal in the beginning, but it was rare. It wasn't like a more consistent thing, and I was just so angry and frustrated, that I would do it every once in a while. But I learned how to journal in such a way that it just became more like my prayers to God, and being able to thank God, knowing that, even though I'm feeling this way right now, I know you're going to bring me out of this. And so, and if I had, sometimes I would have dreams about my ex or whatever, and I kind of write it down and ask God, like, what it means, and if I just had a time where I had times where I had really good days. And I remember one of my journal entries was like, God, I had to come write this down because I want to remember this day forever. Like, I had this unexplainable peace that has come over me, and I just kind of wrote a whole thing about that. And I'm really glad that I took the time to write that down, because it was something I was able to come back to at a later date to read and be like, you know what, God, let this, if it was time where I wasn't in peace, let this come back to me. I want to feel your peace again. Just put me, just praying about it. It could prompt me to pray about it later. So yeah, just journaling really, I will say that was one of the biggest things that helped me during that season of my life. And I encourage you to try it. Just start by writing down your feelings, and go from there, and you really can find a way to turn your feelings into prayers to God by just writing. So, and it's not for everybody, but it is something. And hey, if you're not a writer, maybe just talk it out on like an audio recorder, or do a video and you can watch it later. Like, whatever it is, sometimes you just need a friend to talk to, and that's okay too. Just make sure it's a very trusted friend who won't be spreading your business all around. So whatever the case is, find what's healthy for you. Let's see. And I just felt like while I was embracing my emotions, I had a decision to make. And you do too. You know, when you get to this part of your journey and you start to embrace your emotions, you have a decision to make, because you're feeling them. You're allowing yourself to feel what you're going through. And so one of two things could happen. And this is the decision. I had to decide, and you have to decide too, whether or not you're going to let this situation make you bitter or better. Okay? Bitter or better. And for me, I was just like, it was imperative, because I got to the point where I'm like, look, I am so ready to move on. You know, I accepted that God did not want me to have this relationship. He wanted me to let it go. And, you know, I accepted that this man was not coming back. So I'm just going to go ahead and allow the situation to make me better. I don't want to be bitter, because when you become bitter, you stay stuck in that place. If you're bitter, you're stuck in that place, and you're being led by your emotions, and you're allowing that person to control you. Okay. And that's the satisfaction I felt like I didn't want him to have over me. When people say, oh, don't let him have the satisfaction of you crying or whatever. No, that's not his satisfaction either. But I'm going to cry if I need to cry, and I'm going to hit this pillow if I need to hit this pillow. But the satisfaction that he won't have is making me get stuck in life, not being able to live a life of peace and joy that God intended, because I'm bitter and angry and stuck in this season, and I can never move on. If you allow this situation to make you bitter, you won't be able to move on. You won't be able to have a successful relationship in the end until you make the decision to be better. So, you know, you have to make the decision and make it to yourself. Tell yourself, I am going to let this situation make me better, not bitter. And every time you feel feelings of bitterness, speak against those feelings. Okay. Definitely don't let that control you. Don't let that get you stuck. Okay. And I think that's it for this. You know, when you make that decision, I kind of really feel like that was, like, for me, that was the turning point. Okay. I felt like it was the point that I just accepted things, and that I'm now moving in a different direction. I'm going to be better. So I'm not going to stay stuck here. I've embraced my emotions. I'm dealing with them. I'm working my way through it. And now I'm getting ready to move forward. And it really is a great point, because, you know, no one really wants to have to go through this season of life. But I mean, bam, here you are. So it really is a great point to know that, hey, this is my turning point. This is my fork in the road. Bitter or better. I'm doing better. I'm going this way. And then you find yourself moving forward towards your better. And what better looks like for you, you have to make a choice. You know, you have decisions to make from there of what better looks like for you. And you seek God for that. And so, you know, I was ready to move on. I wasn't exactly sure how, but the first thing I knew in my mind was that I wanted to. And that's the biggest thing. Like, you have to want to move forward. You have to, like, really want to, like, not just say you want to, but you still holding on to these feelings of bitterness, this unforgiveness. No, you have to really decide that, hey, I'm moving on. I'm letting it go. I'm forgiving him. I'm leaving those things behind me, and I'm moving forward to what's ahead. Okay. So yeah, so that's really it for this video. I do have some scriptures that I am going to tack in. Give me a minute. All right, so the scripture that I have for today is Hebrews chapter 12, verse 15. And it says, look after each other so that none of you fails to receive the grace of God. Watch out that no poisonous root of bitterness grows up to trouble you, corrupting many. So what Paul is saying here is that, you know, bitterness takes root inside of you, and it produces bitter fruit. And giving your bitter fruit to other people corrupts them as well, you know. And so you don't want to have bitterness take root inside of you, and it corrupts everyone around you. You know, it's not only bad for you and your life, but it's bad for those who you come into contact with as well. And so you become stuck and you become stagnant, and then you project that bitterness onto other people, causing it to take root in them. And then you're gonna have to answer for that one day, and you don't want that on your, you know, one, you don't want that weighing on your conscience, and two, you don't want to have to answer to God for that when the time comes. And if you do plan on entering another relationship with another person, again, if you have bitterness inside of you, that relationship is likely not going to work. And if it does work, and I use air quotes work, it won't be healthy because you're not healthy. In order for a relationship to work and to be healthy, you need two whole, healthy individuals to come together, okay? So if you're not whole, if you're not healthy, then that relationship is going to be broken in some way, and likely it won't succeed or it won't survive. So if you want a healthy future, just a healthy you, and to become whole, and you desire a healthy relationship in your future, don't let bitterness take root in you and bring forth the bitter fruit. Okay, so I'm so glad that I got to get this video out on today, and I'm looking forward to producing more. There are a few more tips that I'm going to make videos on, but also I'm trying to put some other little videos in between those. Hopefully won't be this long again, because my last video I think was at the end of January that I posted the last video, so I didn't post any in February, but I'm here in March and we're gonna get rolling again. So I love you guys. Like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with those who may need it, and I'll see you next time. And subscribe. Okay, and so I'll see you next time. I love you guys. Bye.